High vibes, everybody. Just wanted to get on here today. I know it's been a little bit since I posted a video, so I wanted to get on here and kind of just explain about how you can get caught up in the mind and like what that actually does, like being caught up in the mind. You know, I made videos before, saying that you're not your mind, you're not your ego, and all that. But there's different levels to all this. Like once you start really delving into your mind, because I know a lot of people, want to delve into their mind because it is a powerful tool to use, and like in using that tool in the right ways can really help you out and really boost you up. But you want to get to the point to where you're so caught up in the mind that you start to lose sight of what's actually going on around you. And I know this personally because recently, I've been going through it where I was so caught up in my mind that I started to lose track of what was actually going on around me. And I was just, creating these scenarios and things inside my head that weren't actually happening. But it was to the point where I was so caught up in my mind, to me, it was happening. And that's why, it's important that you are doing your practices, because once all that stuff started happening, I stopped doing some of my practices. And that's when, the mind started to take over. That's when I started to delve so far into my mind that I lost track of those things. So you want to make sure that if you are, getting caught up in the mind, because it does happen, and it will happen, because there's going to be those times where you start thinking about things and you start delving into it more, but you can't feed it that energy. Once you start feeding it that energy, that's when it has more energy to take over. It has more energy to have more control. When it's not even control, it's where it's now doing what it wants to do, and you're just not, and you're just letting it, because nothing has control unless you give it to it. So once you realize that, you can start to realize the situation that's actually happening when your mind starts taking over, when your ego starts to play into there, because the ego and the mind, they're really close. They do a lot of similar things, and the ego would like to use your mind because your mind is so powerful. Your mind is that tool to be used when you need to and where you need to do it. So you want to make sure that you're not getting caught up in that, and you're seeing what's actually going on and being more aware of your thoughts and everything that's going on around you. Because once you start to become more aware of what's actually going on around you, that's when you're going to start to see, exactly how much your mind can actually play into different things. But you can't forget about spirit. Spirit is what's actually going to drive all of this, and what's going to make sure that you are in that driver's seat. Make sure spirit's in that driver's seat to make sure that you're being navigated where you need to be navigated toward, and what you're actually supposed to be doing, and not getting caught up into these different scenarios and these different things that are actually happening to you. Because once you start getting into your mind and you're like, okay, no, this is how it is, you'll start to you might even start to see people differently. I talked about how your perspective can change your reality. Well, depending on how deep you get into your mind, you could actually change your reality. You can start to see things differently, because the mind is very powerful. And you even think about when people start to hallucinate or anything like that, and they start seeing something totally different. So that is a capability that your mind naturally has. So you need to realize that once you start to delve into it, these types of things can happen. And you want to make sure that these things aren't happening to you, that you're actually, maintaining that discipline and that control and, that schedule, whatever you have to do in order to keep into the right vibration and the right, frequency of, turning up and raising up and, getting more connected with spirit, getting more connected with your spirit family, getting more connected with those like-minded people, those like-spirited people, those like the people that are actually, on your same vibration, on that same frequency. They might not be at the exact same vibration as you, but they're within that bandwidth, the vibration that you're on as well. They're all turning up, and you want to be around the same people that are turning up as well, because that will help you on your path. Because once you start delving into your mind, you can start separating yourself, because your mind will have you thinking all these different things and going into these different scenarios that aren't even really happening, to the point where you start to separate yourself, because you have now created a different reality than what everybody else is experiencing. And then once you start doing that, you're not able to, navigate it the same way. You start to lose those connections. So you don't want to. Every single time that you're starting to think, oh, you should separate yourself, or your mind is starting to, play those tricks where it's like, oh, everybody's out to get you, because that does happen. A lot of people, when they get into spirituality and they start seeing like these different things that are happening to them, they start getting paranoid. They start thinking everybody's out to get you. Not everybody's out to get you. Now, there are some people that are out there that do those types of things, but not everybody is out to get you. And you want to make sure that you definitely aren't feeling like your spirit family, or the people who are around that are actually helping to raise you up are the ones that are out to get you, because that's not cool. You want to make sure that you're actually, embracing them with that loving vibration, embracing them with that, with those high vibes, to the point where you're actually able to connect with them on a deeper level. Because once you start connecting with them on a deeper level, you'll start to even see that how your mind is, interchanging with everything. As within, so without; as without, so within. So you want to make sure that you're seeing all these different things and how they play out, because it will have an effect on your reality. It will change how things are going. It will do those things. But you want to make sure that you're checking your mind and your ego. I've talked about doing ego checks. You got to do mind checks as well, and see exactly where your mind is at on it. Are you in control? Is spirit in control, or is the ego in control? What is actually, driving your actions and your thoughts and whatever you're doing? You got to see exactly what is driving these things and get down to the base point of it, because there's a lot of those issues that are deeper inside that will drive these issues, and if you haven't dealt with them, then they're going to come up at some point. And depending on how much you've repressed those things is how far that's going to have to come out, because you have to be able to take it all out in order to actually cleanse out. You have to bring those hurtful things up to the surface in order to skim it off and clear it off. And so you want to make sure that if you are going through one of those cleansing periods, that you make sure to keep doing your spiritual practices and your meditations as well, and to be connecting with that loving vibration and that loving spirit, so that you don't get so caught up into the situation that it starts turning into a con cycle. It starts turning into a dip, and you start actually turning down instead of turning up. But that's pretty much all I wanted to get on here and talk about today. So, my full love, of course, my gratitude.